moving on to comics. I think we got a lot of comics today, so y'all want to do all the Dawn of X together?
Sure.
Let's just go around, talk about what you like and don't like about the various issues. I think so far there's been X-Men, Marauders, and Excalibur.
Correct.
And those are all three of the
And the thing I like is that they're all distinct from each other. I was worried because so many of the characters show up in multiple books, and I thought, ugh, this again. But it's done in a better way than
They're all still tied to Krakoa.
Exactly.
Which allows people to quickly go.
And that's what works. And I thought, okay, this makes a little bit of sense. And I also was concerned after Powers of X and House of X that they created this seemingly perfect, new status quo. Where do you go from here story-wise? And they've already got all these great places to go, and it's super interesting. Also to see how some of the characters come back, like Cyclops' brother, really distinct personality. Betsy Braddock's brother, crazy personality. That's been really fun. Seeing Apocalypse, which is a notorious bad guy, doing some seemingly good stuff, but we know he's really shady. Bringing in Camelot and all of that into the Excalibur book. Having it just gave it a really unique feel. Kitty being a fan of mine, so much mystery. Why can't she go through the portals?
You mean Kate?
Yes, Kate. I also call her Kitty. But yeah, I'm really jazzed for what they've done. Probably the only criticism I have of the three books is I don't like the artist on X-Men. I think it's, isn't it Lionel Yu or whatever?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a fan of his art.
You don't like Yu?
I don't. It's not my jam.
I will say...
But I love the polyamory between Wolverine
and
Jean,
Cyclops.
And Cyclops. That's
alleged. It's alleged.
It's just legit.
It's
happening.
So worried about who having sex with who.
Hey.
Very subtle nod. Hey, it's important for people like Mark to know who's having sex.
I
with
get it, but I don't know.
Oh, everybody wants to know.
I'll let you finish.
No.
So,
That's it.
okay.
Go for it, Lucas.
Yeah, there is so much stuff going on in these things, like in X-Men.
Should he go last though? I mean, he's going to have the most to say about.
No, let's let him go now.
No.
Go ahead.
No, okay.
We'll pipe in. We'll pipe in.
Y'all pipe in. Y'all shut me up. No, there is so much going on in X-Men. Like, it's so strange. Like, the whole thing was Cyclops, and he's all buddy-buddy with his dad, and everybody's there, and it's all happy family. Like, it
seems strange.
It is creepy to me. Like, there is something off.
Amiss.
There's something absolutely off with all of this. And all anybody can focus on is that apparently, there's a three. What do they call it? A throuple.
Well, I mean, it's polyamory.
Yeah, polyamory between the three, which is fine. If that's what people want to focus on. But it's like
people have been wanting that for years, though, dude.
I know, but I mean it's such a minor thing in the entirety of the X-Men universe.
And to be fair, I think that it was a minor thing in the comic too. It wasn't like they were talking about it the whole time. It was
they
an
didn't
image.
talk about it.
They did. That's the thing.
But here's why everybody's talking about it. If you're a part of the polyamorous lifestyle and you are then recognized in a comic book, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So you not being polyamorous is like whatever.
I know,
but it's just like when your first gay comic book character comes out, or you get your first really cool Asian character. For those people, that's a big deal. That representation is there. And, and polyamorous people, they are so like the new thing now. They're like the new trans.
Yeah.
So you got your I have so many friends that are like coming out about their polyamory now. It's hilarious, and they're getting their own flag.
Everybody's got to have a flag.
What?
Yeah, they have a flag with all the other flags.
All right.
Okay.
I know.
No.
So,
and
I'm just gonna move on.
I met Polly. She seemed
apart
okay.
from that.
So
I think that, but I do think that they're setting up for some really interesting things in X-Men, because
I know what I'd put on
the preview for the next issue is what was it? Aroka, I think it is, which is the other half of Krakoa that was like banished by Apocalypse and all this. So that's all coming back with all the whoever was
news
on
to me.
that.
Is that old? Because I'd never heard that before in my life.
No, it was like in either it was probably in House.
No, I mean
Apocalypse.
It's new. It's new to that. I'm talking about like Had we ever heard of that before in the history?
Oh no, not that I know of. Not that I
didn't
remember.
think so.
But yeah, so that's going to be interesting. Like it's totally creepy the way everybody is acting. So I don't know what
You think
is
there's
going
some
on.
grand
Okay,
plan?
so
I don't know if there's I think it's almost kind of Stepford. It's another Twilight Zone feeling.
Okay,
kinda
so I've
is.
got,
I
I've got
have a
two-
question
It's
about.
just
All right.
really weird. To
I've got
me.
two theories about the way people are acting. So one, some of them have been rebooted through Charles,
Right.
and also just kind of the trajectory the characters are on has changed by everything that Myra's done.
Yeah.
So I think that could be affecting personalities, or because Myra is manipulating Charles.
Right.
Who knows what's going on when he reboots them? Maybe he is putting
Yeah.
something in them
well-
to make them a little more Stepford.
Yeah.
Okay, so just a quick question because it pertains to what you just said. So the brother of, wait a minute, well, who is the
Scott?
It was in the no,
Vulcan.
Captain Britain.
no,
Oh,
the
Captain
other
Britain.
one, the other brother,
Oh.
What's his name?
There was another brother?
Yeah.
the other Braddock brother.
Oh, yeah, the other
Yeah,
brother, yeah.
Jamie.
So Jamie, that's the one.
Jamie Braddock.
So when did he die? Because my question is how long has
How
Charles
he
been
came back?
recording people like
Yeah.
this? Because I don't recall him being alive for a very long time, and
But-
which brings up the point of when did Charles start like doing these recordings of people's
Well, when did he-
psyches?
when did he die?
Myra came back. This section that we're living in is a new section. It's not the section that we've been in all this time.
Yeah.
So we don't know when he died. In other words,
That's what I was gonna say. I don't know when he died in this timeline that they're telling.
Right.
He could have died earlier in another timeline. that he
Like,
hasn't
for
seen.
example, the Phoenix saga
I
may
kinda-
not have happened in this timeline. We don't
No,
know.
I think the timeline we're in is the current timeline.
that's what I thought. That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
So
So like the
something else
Phoenix
is
saga
up.
happened, Days of Future Past happened. The way I understand
my
it, like that's the
understanding,
timeline
too.
we're in now.
I don't know.
right.
So,
So that's
yeah,
why I'm
I don't
like,
know.
oh wait
I don't
a
know
minute,
how
what
long
the
it's
heck?
been. Yeah,
It's been a while because I didn't even remember him at all.
I know. I thought the same thing too. I was like, but yeah, I don't know.
I'll just say one of
But
the. What? Are you done?
No,
Oh,
well,
no.
I'm not done. But-
He's
Is he ever done? No, I was just gonna say I like that they've been able to have multiple different artists and writers doing these different stories, but it doesn't seem like they're going in completely different directions that they're not going to be able to tie back in the end.
Yeah, well, it's because Hickman is essentially the editor of like it says in the most recent issue. I actually noticed it's like editor of X is what he is called.
Okay.
So
The
essentially,
X-editor.
he is the editor of the X-Men right now.
So
the
he's
X
guiding
universe.
it. He's just not.
Yeah, and I mean that's the
necessarily-
whole thing. He came with a 2-year plan.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's he's got a lot.
And I
going.
would hope that all the comic book, I hope the big companies, I hope this is a success, and that the big companies follow suit.
I know. I hope this
it's
becomes
part of
status
what
quo.
bothers me about what's happening over DC. It's just making me nauseous at times. And then especially like for example, Wonder Woman is in all these different books. And I'm like, well, you're about dead in this one, but you seem okay over here, and you're possessed over there. Batman's every which way. It's just I need that.
Yeah.
Some
Well,
continuity.
and that's the thing you were talking about. People like the same characters being in multiple books. It's not like Wolverine used to be, and Storm actually in a couple where it was like, hold on just a minute, like this was supposed to happen, but at the same time, like you're supposed to be across the earth fighting this battle here,
Right.
and
But
aren't
you're
you
in
dead
space?
at this point?
Right,
You're up in
aren't
space. I mean, so it's like they were supposed to be in multiple places and multiple times,
Well-
but this it works because it is.
They're all using
you know-
Krakoa gates to get everywhere.
Oh yeah, sure.
That and again,
Kenny's not.
I think that Hickman is making sure that everything is falling into place.
Yeah.
And so far, I'm really
Well, so the Marauders. I know me and Lawson went to dinner a few weeks ago just to hang out, and he was talking about. Yeah,
Oh, just kidding.
yeah, we were just hanging out.
Yeah.
But he was talking about how much he didn't know if he was gonna like Marauders, but the whole Kitty Pryde's like a pirate now, and she's gathering other mutants that can't get through the portal. And when I heard the description of it, I thought that's what it was too. That there were several mutants that couldn't get through the portal. And then when you read it, it's no, she can't get through it, and she's helping mutants who are being forced away from the portal.
Basically
Yes.
refugees.
Which made it so interesting.
And it makes it so much
made
better.
It much so
And-
relevant, really.
And then we got talking about theories of why she can't get through the portal. And I know
There's the one theory that
Brooks-
she might not be a mutant.
Brooks had, so there's one theory that she might not be a mutant.
What? Say what? Who? What?
I don't think
What
that's.
would she be?
I'm hoping that's not what really happens because I think that might annoy me a little bit.
Could she be?
That would piss me off too. Actually.
So yeah.
Yeah.
And then my theory was that she's got a very unique power that on a place where their main form of punishment that they've come up with is banishing people into Krakoa, they can't do anything like that to her.
Because old bitch, had that bullet that she phased through the whole Earth. Girl is powerful.
Yes.
Yeah, she's
She
Omega
is my
level.
favorite X-Man.
So do you
and
think
so-
maybe Krakoa has a problem with her?
Yeah,
that's what I-
That's
No,
what Mark thinks.
Well,
no. I-
So that's what I thought.
you have a theory.
Then,
Okay.
Then Brooks on our little chat actually came up with another theory that she could go wherever she wants to, including Moira's no space.
yeah, and that was the same thing that I was thinking
And
too.
that might be, maybe it's Moira who made this decree of hell no, she's not coming into Krakoa.
Right.
Because if she finds me and she lets the word out, this whole thing goes down the drain.
Yep.
And
that's-
I think that's
that's a-
another brilliant. theory.
I think that's the most likely. The
Yeah.
other, to catch you up, Derek. I don't know if you remember. I don't know how many years ago there was this other race of beings that were like the next step past mutants, and they essentially just kicked X-Men's ass left and right.
What?
Like, yeah, it was like
Was that the Immortals?
no.
What was it?
Oh,
It's some random thing, and it's mentioned. Oh no, it was on some message where I was reading. They were just like the next evolutionary step, and the mutants are badass, and these guys wiped the floor with them. And then
Where did they go?
I don't remember, but what was thought was that Kitty was actually one of them. Like they had.
I actually, I do vaguely recall. I read an X-Men, like an old X-Men comic recently that they
I gotta Google
re-released,
Mhm.
like X-Men something design,
oh, Grand Design.
Grand
Grand Design. I think they
It
mentioned
probably
that
mentions
in
that,
there.
yeah. So that was one theory that people
Man,
were
that's
floating
deep
around.
cut. I don't
They
know
mentioned that in
anything
Grand
about that.
Design.
I vaguely recall them talking
Grand
about
Design is just
another.
basically retelling all this
Mhm.
stuff.
Mm.
So, in any case, the other thing about Kitty was her fight scene in that issue. Again, shows
That
what
was
a
really
badass
cool.
she was.
She is badass.
I really did
Um,
like that fight scene.
I love Kitty, and it took me back to when Kitty was trapped in limbo all that time, and she took Nightcrawler through the floor and broke his legs, the evil Nightcrawler.
Mhm.
It took me back to that, and I was like, "Don't fuck with Kitty."
Yeah.
She
It
will
reminded
mess
me
you
of
up.
how when you showed powers in a really unique kind of way
Mhm.
that they're really cool. It reminded me of like when they do Invisible Woman that way.
Yeah.
They can do it really well,
Yeah.
and you're just like, oh wow, I never thought of
Yeah.
that use
Yeah.
of the power. you
Right.
know?
So I'm glad to hear that you like Kitty though, because it seemed
Or you talking about me?
yeah.
Oh, I love Kitty.
Well, no, but I'm saying something about her characterization. It seems like they have de-aged her a little, like they have stepped back a little bit.
Because she was
because
badass
she
for a
was-
minute there.
Yeah, when she
leading
was
the
like
X-Men.
leading the X-Men, she seemed a lot more mature, and
That's
she
true.
seems to have stepped back to kind of like
Well,
that.
don't you
I don't
you think
know.
they kind of all have? You're talking about the way they're acting, and yet you're. I'm still not convinced it's the current timeline, just because everyone's being so. Or maybe it is that when. Well, no, because he hasn't.
Anything's
rebooted her.
possible.
Well,
Yeah,
so
see,
There's,
that's the
there's
thing.
something
Yeah.
about.
I-
There's something about the characterization of all of them that's just a little off.
I will
Yeah.
say there was the one thing that really bugged me about Marauders is when they realized that she couldn't get through the gate, that Storm was standing there. The fact that
They were
Storm
like, "Oh,
didn't
well."
immediately go, "Hey, Council, there's a mutant that can't get in here. You guys need to figure this out." That She
Right.
was just kind of like, "Sucks to be you."
Yeah.
Well, no, I
See
think
you
that's why
later.
she took the boat. I think they did try to figure it out, and then it was
Yeah, it probably
like,
happened
you know,
off panel.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think some
I-
stuff happened off.
I feel like
yeah.
that would have been a scene that they would have included to say, yeah, no, they're really trying. It wasn't like Logan's using her to smuggle stuff into
Yeah,
Krakoa.
I know.
Like, what
Yeah.
the hell's going on with that?
So
I thought it was kind of funny in Marauder, or not funny, but it's kind of funny. The whole Iceman
Yes.
stuff
Being
going
a
on.
bother.
oh yeah,
Yeah, I was just like, okay,
See,
well,
bobbins everywhere. read that one panel and were thrilled.
And see, I didn't even pick up on it until y'all said something about it. Like, I totally missed it. But okay, so Marauders, it is interesting that, like, I think it's interesting, but we were talking about this in chat too. It seems like, I was thinking about this, it seems more suited to X-Force than it would be Marauders.
And from
Because it's that behind enemy lines,
Sure.
sneaking mutants through.
And from
the
what I've read,
gates,
X-Force is going to be even more dangerous.
Yeah, see, so I'm interested to see X-Force because this is what I thought what X-Force would be some sort of Black Ops, behind enemy lines operations.
He didn't.
So,
You got it all.
What?
I'm letting him
I'll
read
read it later. I'll go back and look at it again later.
I'm sitting here, I'm going,
Okay. Yep, there it is.
comics code? No, really? Oh.
Well, I mean, this one had the thruple, that had that,
Yeah, one of the message boards I follow talked about the fact they didn't like the humor that was in the Marauders.
Now, see, I did.
And
See,
I thought it was great.
I didn't mind it. I thought it was good.
Because I think think about war movies that you see where soldiers are in the heat of battle or they're in behind enemy lines, that kind of stuff, but they still joke around.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you do to survive.
Yeah.
You have to have humor.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like you can't have. So Hickman puts together, like I said, these grand operatic things. So Powers of X and Powers of 10 and House of X, I think, was amazing, and I love that it was weekly and it covered so much in such a short amount of time. But it would get completely exhausting if you kept that up.
Right.
You know? And so when I read X-Men, I thought, man, this is a little slow. But then I was like, no, this is what we need now.
You need a little break.
Is a little break, a little character development.
These, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are different.
And so and I like that they're so different, and we're kind of and we're seeing some different things. With characters, we're seeing different storylines. I think Excalibur was really interesting, bringing back Otherworld, Camelot, and kind of that whole leaning into who Betsy Braddock is and her brother, and
giving her such a rich personality separate from Psylocke. Because when they first split Betsy and Psylocke apart and made Betsy not Asian, I was angry because I was like, you just got rid of one of the best Asian characters in comic books.
Yep.
But let's see what is it. Quanon, is that her name?
Quanon, yeah.
Let's see what she can do over in that other book, which luckily I read is going to have more than just the three of them.
Yeah.
There's going to be some other characters because I thought, why are we have a book just these three?
Yeah.
So we could talk about Dawn of X all night. We should probably just do a special episode just on Dawn of X once we got all of them out.
You're right. It's time to move on.
But I think it's time to move on. I've got two comics real fast. I'm going to talk about.
Right.
The first one is called Hungry Ghosts. It was actually co-written by Anthony Bourdain. Is the big name on the top. So the premise behind this, it's only 4 issues long, and they have a hardcover of all of them compiled. So there's this legend, so to speak, of this game that samurais used to play. I don't remember the actual name of it, but it's called 100 Candles is essentially what it's called. And what they do is they get in a room, they turn out all the lights, they light 100 candles, and then there's a mirror off to one side, and then they've got masks lining the entire room, and they tell ghost stories. And every time they tell a ghost story, they blow out a candle, and they go look in the mirror to see if they released any demons into the room. And I think the idea is that if you release something, you have to go kill it, kind of thing. And the strongest samurais are the ones that last the longest until the end. And there's some stories about one samurai finished the last story, blew out a candle, and saw a hand coming down to him, and pulled out his sword, and ended up it was just a spider that was casting a shadow from somewhere. I don't know how it casts a shadow in a dark room, but it's a real thing that they used to do. And so the premise of this book is it's a rich dude. He invited some friends over, and he says, hey, let's go play this game. And each issue has 2 different ghost stories in it. And the further you go, the more disturbing they become.
Yeah, my balls.
I will say it's not really scary disturbing, more like disgusting disturbing. If you have any phobias about food, they're all food related. If you have any phobias about food or things eating you, you should probably stay away from this one.
Which is exactly like his show. He's always talking about like how things disturb him,
Yeah.
you know, and things like that. So of course he would have that in his own
Well,
comic.
as I'm flipping through and looking at the pictures, I caught the section where some ghost, I guess, ate a bunch of dudes' balls off.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Yeah, it was. There's one of the stories
That's a
is
word.
there's a person that's got like they implant something in people and then they eat them out of them,
Wow.
and they're like a little ball essentially.
That's crazy.
It's like it's supposed to be a delicacy for this one monster, and that's why they do it.
Cool. And then there's
I mean-
there's multiple art styles in it, and that's pretty interesting.
I don't know if they switched up artists between stories or
it
if
looks like
They-
they're
yeah, they
they're
did.
pretty
Does look-
Okay.
It
They did.
does look different.
and it looks like and some of it's very manga anime style, and I like that aspect of it.
and if you get the compiled version at the end, there's actually some recipes you could try out. So I'm letting Doug borrow this copy, and I told him if he tries any of these recipes, I get to come over and taste them, and I'm excited to see if you actually do any.
Doug
Yeah.
can cook, so
Yeah, let's see.
I think Doug can cook too. So
I think you guys are nice.
so let's go ahead and break it up. So Doug can talk about. You brought one of the comics you wanted to.
Yeah, I brought Bone by Jeff Smith. It was a self-published thing that's become like a huge deal. It has, let's see, it got 11 Harvey Awards, 10 Eisners. That's just in America, but it's bigger than Jesus in Italy, France, Germany, Spain, Finland, and Norway. And that's mostly because of the fact
Norway,
that
I can see, but
mostly because it looks like Asterix, and it looks like Asterix. We're just gonna leave it at that. But this guy Jeff Smith, he self-published this thing entirely. And
Oh, that was the whole thing.
That's the whole thing.
They didn't just do a compendium after. Oh,
no, that's the whole thing. It took like 15 years to start.
holy crap.
And
that's
it's
commitment.
Oh,
I bought that when it was completely finished. And
Is he supposed to be a ghost?
no,
Okay.
he is actually what is called a bone from Boneville, and I can't remember all their names, but the one that I like the most is there's three brothers. There's Smiley, Phony, and then Phone Bone. That's what it is. His name's Phone, and so Phony is the one who's like the shyster in the group. He's always the brother looking for the quick buck and all that, and he gets him into all the shit. And then Smiley is like the Harpo of like the Marx Brothers. And of course, all the hilarity ensues from that. And Phone basically just cleans up their mess the entire time. And there's like this huge fantasy that happens. And there's this lovely running gag with rat creatures, which is just hilarious. The first couple of times you read it, you're really annoyed. But by the time you go through it, it becomes a thing. And then of course there's Moby Dick. So, you know.
Did you say it was called Bone Town?
Boneville.
Oh, Boneville. Okay.
Boneville. Huge difference between Bone Town.
I was gonna say he
That's
didn't
a-
really think that one through, did he?
No, that's like that's a
Bonetown, totally
different thing altogether. So, but yeah,
it's got a map of the valley.
yeah. So the whole reason why I brought it is because they're going to be making a cartoon of this, and it's going to be on Netflix.
Okay.
So
That should be amazing. I mean, you
yeah.
know, this looks really cool. That is he on like a quest? Because that's the feeling I get from it.
there is a quest right there. There's a girl that he meets. Her name's Rose, and she has repressed memories of her previous life. And I really don't want to give too much away because it does kind of like you do. I'm not one of these people that really gives too much of a shit about spoilers, but if you know about what she is before you actually get to learn it, it kind of ruins it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because there's so many other things that happen that other people are vested in her not knowing who she really is, that you actually get like a third of the way through and you become just as upset as she is. And I would prefer new readers to have that feeling.
That's
So.
big.
Yeah.
Awesome. Lucas, you want to talk about Silver Surfer Black, and then
Yeah.
I'll round up.
So, Silver Surfer Black, the 5th issue came out, was the final issue. So I sat down last night and read all 5 issues. I'd only read the first 2, so I sat down and read like all 5 of them together. And it was really interesting. I didn't... it was really interesting how it ended, like this kind of this new status quo for the Silver Surfer and his place in the Marvel Universe and where he is now. But the story itself was really interesting, and but the far and away the artwork in this is absolutely amazing. I loved every panel. It's so Ego is in it, the way that he portrays Ego, and you think that it was interesting to have Ego around. It was actually kind of important. But yeah, it just this kind of 60s mod, like psychedelic, just the colors and the textures that they use to tell the story just is absolutely beautiful, and I was loving it. And so I'm really kind of interested to see where the Silver Surfer goes after this, because I'm not a huge Silver Surfer fan before this. I mean, I knew something about him, but this is it. I really enjoyed this little mini series. It was kind of a nice, nice step away from X-Men. So
Standard
What I
heroes
want to
there.
know is why it gotta be black.
you find out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just
You got to read it.
You'll
I
find out.
read them as they came out. I honestly don't remember most of the story, but the artwork was lovely.
Yeah, I mean the artwork is amazing.
lovely.
I loved it.
Lovely.
Trippy as hell.
Yeah.
So it
It,
looks
it
like.
was trippy. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
whole thing. It is so like trippy and psychedelic, but it fits with the story. Like it's this, yeah. So
Real fast, just because I know we're running a long time, I actually found a DC book that I'm really interested to read.
The
hell? Okay.
And what's funny is it's not a superhero book. It's a high fantasy book that DC Black just put out, the
Gotcha.
Black
Okay.
label. It's called The Last God, book 1 of the Fellspire Chronicles.
I think I just bought that.
So I read it with
read it yet.
kind of didn't understand like what I was getting into. I didn't know if this was based off a novel that had come out, and from what I've read, it's not a novel. It's completely original thought, but this to me has the feeling of being like the next Lord of the Rings type trilogy or novelization, whatever it wants to become. I actually predict that in the next 10 or 15 years we will see this either as a movie coming out or as an HBO Max TV show. The premise is there a lot of backstory to this that they talk about in the first few pages. There's like this plague, they call it like the plant plague or something like that, is going around. It's infecting people and turning them into like these zombies. And there's all these different races band together and create like a fellowship, very Lord of the Rings like, to go kill this god that they think is creating this. And they go there, and this one guy allegedly kills the god, and he becomes like the high king of this whole world. And then as you start seeing some of like what's going on, you can tell that there's some races that have these like dislikes of each other, that they what
Nothing.
Stop ruining my comics, man. You need gloves to look through them, by the way. No, but you start to realize that they might not have actually succeeded in defeating this god and ridding the world of this plague. The artwork is, I think, awesome, and the story, there's so much going on. I actually read the little prose at the end of it. I know I said I hate doing that, and I hate doing it still, but I did it anyways because there's so much backstory that you have to understand in order to get what's going on. But I love it.
Careful.
Well, it's good that and for me, it's good to see that the Black Label line has something other than Batman and his friends.
Oh, gosh.
Because all their other books are just Batman.
And Joker.
Penis.
And
Joker,
Harley Quinn.
Harlequin.
I did actually read the
Penis.
first 2 of Harleen,
sorry.
which is actually pretty good. If you want to,
of what now?
Harleen, it's Harley
Harleen.
Quinn's origin story.
Okay, yeah.
Come on, man. Her name's Harleen.
It's her
That's
name is
true.
Dr. Harleen
Quinn.
Quinsley.
Quinsley.
This
Quinzel
art
or
is
Quinzel, yeah.
beautiful.
That
Yeah.
Isn't
art
it beautiful?
nice.
That's why I bought it.
And there, so
I didn't even know if I wanted to read it. I just
So
wanted
one
to
of the
look at it.
things, in full disclosure, I didn't read Lord of the Rings, but I saw all the movies, The Hobbit, all that stuff. One of the things I like is that everything Tolkien put into those books and into that story. There's so much outside of that he had to come up with in order to create that story. It wasn't like he was typing on a typewriter and was like, I'm going to throw some elves in here and some dwarves in here and this kind of stuff. And this has the same feel. Like, there's all these different races. There's a point where one of the races, like, makes a comment about the king.
Is it music?
And what?
There was
Yeah,
some music.
they have, like, a song that they sing in the story. And then they give you some background into the song and how different races sing it a little differently or different dialects sing it a little differently. Like, just the detail and some of the stuff that he puts into this makes me go, this guy has thought this through. He's got all these wars that happened before this. He's already planned it out.
Yeah.
And he's writing, everything has a purpose in this book. There's nothing that's just kind of off the wall that he throws in there for fun.
For the win.
But anyways, that is comics.